All right, the last thing I'm going to show you how to do is use the graphical user interface to create a foreign key relationship. So to do that, we're going to use the same table. I'm going to go in here, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to delete that current foreign key relationship we had established. And then to set up the foreign key, we just find the table. So here's our table we want to set up the foreign key on. We're going to right click and we're going to hit design. So that'll take us to our table designer. We've seen this before. We've used this to modify and make tables and change columns and data types. But we go up to the table designer menu now and hit relationships. And we have this screen that pops up. And if we want to add a relationship, we come down here and click add. And what do we do? Tables and column specifications. Okay. Click the ellipsis. So primary key table is this table, right? Temp sales reason. The foreign key table is not filled in right now. Excuse me, this is the foreign key table. It needs to point to the primary key table. I was reading these backwards. So we can't change this one because we just said this is the table we're making the foreign key on. Over here is where we select the other table. And our other table was sales reason, right? Our sales reason table. Okay. And then we have to tell which column in the sales reason table we're going to use the sales reason ID. Okay. So I almost wish they would make this be on the left side since we're going from this table to this one. It makes more sense to me, but so the foreign key table is what we start with. We select the primary key table here, and then with the column in the primary key table, we can rename it if we would like to, but notice what this did for us. It automatically used the notation that I was using when we did it by hand. It listed the from table and the to table automatically in the relationship name, which is kind of nice. And we say OK. And we should be all right to go. What else could we do in here? Enforce for replication, enforce foreign key constraints. Insert and update. Delete rule. On delete, we want to set it to cascade, right? Okay. I made a mistake in the other video. Delete rule is going to delete people that have item 60. If we set null, it will delete their values. So that is an important distinction that I messed up in the last video. On delete cascade means that when I delete department 60, anybody who was in department 60 on the person.person table would have also been deleted. Okay? It's not just going to delete their department number. If I set it to on delete set null, anybody that was in department 60 would just have the number deleted. That is an important distinction that I messed up in the last video. I am not going to remake the last video, so hopefully you watch both of them. Okay? How about update? If somebody updates it, what do we want to do? We'll cascade that failure. And then we'll go ahead and close this. And then hit save. The following tables will be saved. Do we want to save it? Yes. Errors were encountered. It didn't like my set null reference. Because we have that column set to not null. So I can't do it. So let's go back to table designer. I had put here to set that to null. We have that column in that other table set to not null, so it can't do it. I did talk about that in the last video. So we'll go ahead and do cascade. Close, save, yes. And if we come back over here and look at our constraints, our keys, let's refresh it, and we have our foreign key constraint again. Okay. Personally, for me, I like to use the code just because that's how I learned. I never used the GUI. The GUI is actually pretty easy if you remember the rules. I obviously stated one incorrectly. All right. Anytime you want to change one of these, you always have that option of going back to the table designer, rechecking the relationships, going in here, editing them if we want to, deleting them if we want to. I showed you the other way to delete those. Under table designer, there's other things you can do too. You can check the indexes. Okay. We have an index on the primary key. If we want to add an index, we can do it here in the table designer as well. I did not cover that, but you can figure that out. It's pretty simple. All right, in the next video, I'm going to talk about our assignment for this week.